said that Gutfeld talks about you all the time.
Who is he? Really, who is he?
I don't watch the show.
He has a show.
I don't watch the
never
show.
heard of him.
Yeah.
I guess he's just obsessed with me.
Next, Joy's gonna say she's never heard of carbs.
Consider Greg Gutfeld verbally abused Joy Behar, who was trying to remain composed, to the point where her makeup began to question her life decisions. Did Joy actually have a breakdown, or was it just her ego declaring bankruptcy? You won't want to miss this epic showdown, which is dripping with awkward pandemonium and comedic gold. So stay tuned while it's live.
Seriously, her denial of knowing me is as believable as her red hair. But obsession? I mean, come on, Joy. Where would you even get that idea? Like Joy Behar's face, it's looking worse and worse by the day. More full of crap than Joy Behar after a night of scotch at Taco Bell. Her being named Joy is like me being named Ugly. Joy wasn't there on the show. Apparently Mondays are her days off when she feeds in the pasture. It now smells like a humid day inside Joy Behar's moo-moo. And the motives stink worse than Joy Behar's jog bra. I mean, assuming she jogs. Oh, wait, there she is. She has a point. Maybe I am obsessed, but some people are obsessed with Bigfoot, and they don't get to see him on TV every afternoon.
Daytime TV sass has always been dominated by Joy Behar, a master of the dramatic eye roll, the witty comeback, and the swift jab that could stop a room full of toddlers from yelling for decades. She has been the shrewd voice behind the microphone, expressing her thoughts like a skilled gladiator brandishing a verbal trident. However, bad days can happen to even the most strong warriors, and today was one of them. Joy was cooked like last week's forgotten dish on the day Greg Gutfeld arrived and transformed the spotlight into a glaring interrogation lamp.
This week, Joy Behar accused Elon Musk of being pro-apartheid, but then begged him afterwards not to sue. Musk lawyers have yet to comment because they're still checking to see if it's legal to sue a cow.
Shots fired.
Just a legal question. I don't know why it's so upsetting. I don't make the rules in this country.
Let's now take a moment to discuss Greg Gutfeld. The man can turn a funeral into a stand-up comedy special because he is a walking, talking satire machine. Greg's wit is so sharp it could sever steel, and his humor is dry enough to dry out the Sahara. In addition to throwing blows, he choreographs the entire battle sequence, including one-liners that hit a cartoon figure with more force than a piano.
It's about the view. It's become like a medical hospital that displays human misfailure. Like it's like here, let's look at this political oddity. You know, it's like it really is like the left-wing equivalent of a carnival sideshow, except instead of bearded ladies and fat clowns and two-headed cows. Well, let me rephrase that. But The View is a victim of the sunk cost fallacy. You know, how can you now speak the truth and when for years you've been telling lie after lie after lie? Now you're carrying this big bag of rocks around you because it's too harmful for their ego to admit that we really were dishonest. And they could be honest. All they would have to say is, look, we hate Trump so much. We were willing to lie about Joe Biden because we felt he was preferable. We thought our lying and our cover-up was on your behalf. Just say that. You're still scum, but at least you're honest.
When Greg targets someone, you're not simply embarrassed. You're verbally abused with the dexterity of a surgeon and the brutality of a child who's just been told they can't have any candy for a week. Imagine this then. Joy Behar, who seems to have survived every challenge the media industry can present, is suddenly the target of the kind of verbal abuse typically saved for reality TV battles or awful stand-up comedy open mic nights.
Some news, the feral monsters of The View say they've never heard of you-know-who. True, the show that makes mornings hell claim that my name doesn't ring a bell. It's time for
Our View on The View. Ugh.
Yeah, the Witch's Coven finally shows me some lovin'. Yesterday on The View, yours truly was the subject of conversation. Apparently, the broads have no idea who I am, or so they say. Hit it, Gladys.
However, this was no lighthearted teasing or sparring. Greg Gutfeld wasn't there to engage in conversation. No, he arrived ready with a full-scale artillery bombardment designed to highlight every flaw, flimsy argument, and mistake that Joy had unwittingly ingrained in her public image. With popcorn in hand, the entire event was like watching a slow-motion car crash. Greg started with what appeared like innocent observations, poking fun at Joy's current political hot takes and those inevitable on-air occasions where passion overflowed into incoherence. However, it swiftly turned into a demolition project. It was about tearing down the whole basis of Joy's on-screen bluster, not just about disagreeing. Greg's ability to transform Joy's furious rhetoric into a montage of contradictions so obvious they could be seen from space is nearly amazing. He didn't have to become louder or use cheesy insults. Joy's barriers were pierced by his exquisitely made sarcasm, which seemed like a custom suit of linguistic armor. The best part was that there was no back and forth or argument. In this one-sided display of wit versus will, Greg was triumphant and tall, while she stumbled like a ballerina who suddenly forgot her choreography mid-performance. And yes, that notorious instance where comedy didn't only poke fun of Joy Behar. Instead of fireworks, the setting was set with an uncanny, quiet prelude that resembled a storm building subtly before deciding to let off mayhem. With a deadly combination of razor-sharp wit and unwavering logic, Greg Gutfeld has been following Joy's recent public statements like a hawk looking for signs of weakness.
Republican presidential candidate Tim Scott dropped by the Furry Five earlier today, and I thought the U.S. had a distinct policy against torture. He took the opportunity to call them out over crap Joy Behar recently said about him, specifically that he doesn't get systemic racism, which is like saying Brian Stelter doesn't get Ben and Jerry's. But Joy Behar gets racism after all. She's been black on Halloween. Yeah. But Joy wasn't there on the show. Apparently Mondays are her days off when she feeds in the pasture. But that is convenient, right? It's like one of my aunts dies every time Brian Kilmeade wants to hang.
As you can see, Joy had recently sent out several zingers and hot takes. This was normal for her, but Greg thought there was blood in the water. Rather than a light-hearted remark or humorous prod, Greg delivered a scathing critique that not only challenged Joy's position, but also methodically destroyed it. Greg's method was extremely lethal because of its surgical accuracy as well as its humor. He didn't flail around swinging wildly. Every logical point was hammered home. Every joke was timed flawlessly, and every word was carefully considered. Initially, it appeared to be light-hearted conversation, the kind of back and forth that TV viewers devour like popcorn. However, the tone changed more quickly than you could say awkwardly. What started off as an apparently informal roast turned into a humiliating show. Then there was happiness. She is typically the epitome of wit and rebellious reply lines, with a zinger ready to cut through any obstacle and a quip for every situation. However, the wheels came off this time. The camera captured her typical repartee when her shields clearly broke down. It was like seeing a unicorn sipping a coffee at Starbucks for those who are familiar with her public character, which is a stronghold of sass and sass. However, this was more than just a case of wounded pride or injured sentiments. No, Joy's response went far beyond a straightforward reply gone wrong. Public personalities like her bear the burden of constant scrutiny in the unrelenting media landscape.
Sausage maker Johnsonville is recalling more than 42,000 pounds of pork sausage for possible contamination with plastic fibers. Fortunately, authorities were able to track all 42,000 pounds to a single location in New York City.
This instance represented a brief but significant break in that armor, a sight of the person behind the mask. It struck a chord with viewers not just because of the humiliation, but also because it exposed the price of living in the harsh spotlight. The collapse was a strategic vulnerability exposed in a high-stakes media battle, not just an emotional response. Joy's moment of hesitation wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a tacit surrender in a conflict where every utterance, glance, and pause is a chessboard play. For those who listened, that breakdown conveyed a tale of fatigue, stress, and the harsh realities of fame's two-edged sword. It demonstrated how even the most astute minds may fall into their own trap, particularly when confronted with a ruthless foe like Greg Gutfeld. This was more than just a humiliation in public. In the middle of the mayhem of broadcast conflict, it was a unique, humanizing moment. Joy, what happened next? Behar's carefully constructed public reputation of unwavering assurance started to crumble. Something uncommon was captured on camera, a clear lapse, a moment of weakness that typically goes unnoticed beneath layers of honed smugness. There was silence instead of rageful retorts or angry comebacks. And if you pay careful attention, you can practically see the mental gears turning in a desperate attempt to find a lifeline. A rescue line thrown from a quick-witted repartee's safety boat. However, the line never appeared.
Their brains are small. But who's the dumbest one of all? True, none of them are in Mensa, but who's the most densa? Perhaps it's Sonny who mastered the art of making idiots look smart. Now the View could ask a mirror who's the dumbest one of all, but there's no way that glass doesn't shatter.
This is the problem of being in the public eye, particularly in a society where every word is scrutinized, every gesture examined, and every emotion magnified. You acquire the ability to construct walls, sarcastic deflection, and sheer brazen walls. For years, Joy's walls have remained sturdy. By transforming outrage into entertainment and personal insults into ratings gold, she has created an empire. However, poor mortar can be found in even the toughest walls. Greg Gutfeld just discovered the in hers. However, this was more than just a personal humiliation moment. No, it was a cultural event, the sort of public display that provokes discussion, not only regarding who said what, but also on the psychological effects of ongoing public scrutiny. Joy's collapse had nothing to do with losing an argument or being politically incorrect. It was an example of what happens when an adversary who is intent on taking advantage of every mistake clashes with the constant pressure to perform in order to amuse and influence public opinion. As soon as the video appeared online, social media erupted like a volcano. The customary group sprang to life, with some applauding Greg's merciless effectiveness and others expressing empathy for Joy's infrequent display of compassion. Timelines filled with memes. Some depict Joy as a cartoonish character, overtaken by a tidal wave of sarcasm, while others have Greg in a gladiator costume engaged in verbal combat. The internet had spoken, and the verdict was in. Joy Behar had been officially humbled on a stage she believed to be her own, and Greg Gutfeld had delivered one of the most devastating public takedowns in recent memory.
Now, I make fun of The View a lot, but that's only because they keep talking. Those hens are always clucking. They get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, and then I get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, except on purpose. But every now and then, one of those dingbats inadvertently says something that reveals modern liberal thought so perfectly it deserves further study. You know, like a weird serpent that washed up on the beach and you want to poke it with a stick.
However, the fact that this exposes the unvarnished reality beneath the glamour and glitz of TV punditry is why it matters beyond the drama. This goes beyond a dispute between two media figures. It concerns the demanding and frequently cruel environment that compels public personalities to balance performative toughness with sincerity. Joy's failure was more than just a personal one. It served as a reminder that despite their makeup and prepared remarks, these pundits are just people with the same fears and anxieties as the rest of us. Greg's takedown was a media warfare masterclass. Pure distilled wit directed with surgical precision without needless yelling or cheap shots. For months, media analysts analyzed this type of performance as an illustration of how humor may be used as a weapon without going too far into blatant cruelty. Joy's brief fall from grace served as a hard lesson in humility, reminding everyone that even the most seasoned media professionals aren't unbeatable. Oh, the fallout Greg Gutfeld's verbal assault didn't only upset a few people, it triggered a digital tsunami where the keyboard warriors sharpened their claws, and every social media feed turns into a battlefield of hashtags, memes, and sarcastic remarks. When the video first appeared online, It became viral more quickly than a cat video with a surprising twist.
They know we exist.
That's a brilliant idea. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
Gutfeld. I'm sorry, not ringing the bell.
Usually at the airport.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah. Huh? Really? I sit next to him? Really? No, this is what elitists do who can't, like, if you don't know who someone is, how did you know to automatically hate him? Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, that's how fake and full of she is. Gutfeld, never heard of him. Don't like him. Why? Because why? That's why I just turned to one of my kids. Because why?
Yeah.
Because I don't know who he is. Never heard of him at all in my entire life. But why? Because I don't know. Because they are the last TV show to talk about high turnover. Mm-hmm. We've been rolling 3 steady for a long time.
Yeah.
We don't take breaks in the commercial to get away from each other. Well, that's what the drinking's for.
Yes.
The topic of discussion swiftly changed from whether Joy Behar simply stumbled to how far comedy can go before it turns into embarrassment. The delicate art of media etiquette suddenly took center stage. Was Greg's comeback witty or a bit too brutal for prime time? Some claim that it was a masterwork of incisive analysis. Others viewed it as a vicious demonstration of the ruthless character of contemporary punditry, where the need for viral fame takes precedence above humanity. Naturally, the divisive ideological mob erupted, with some supporting Greg as a hero of uncompromising truth and others uniting behind him. Joy as the beleaguered fighter who dared to display weakness on a brutal battlefield. Greg's performance went viral, and both casual viewers and late-night presenters and social media influencers were constantly analyzing it. That scene was turned into a pop culture icon by replaying every punchline and analyzing every caustic twist. As the commentator who can surgically dissect opponents while making you laugh till your coffee runs out of your nose, the man's reputation took off. It was the type of public humiliation that, although unpleasant for the victim, makes the person who carried it out legendary.
Here's Joy Behar talking about refusing to share a kidney.
I find that friends with a Trump supporter. I won't give them a kidney, but I could be friends with them.
Hey, Joy, it's a kidney, not a pizza. Of course, she's kidding at first, but then she goes on to explain the moral foundation for her resentment, and it's the same one that drives all deadly ideologies.
Poor Joy, meanwhile, had to negotiate a labyrinth of pity and scrutiny. Some online communities showed sincere worry while praising her humanity and the infrequent rift in her armor. Some weren't so nice, taking advantage of the opportunity to criticize her career and wonder if the once unflappable daytime diva had lost her charm. With fresh interest and not necessarily in a pleasant way, the focus on her career path became more intense. All of a sudden, every previous mistake, every passionate moment, and every dramatic occasion were unearthed like the greatest hits of situations that up until now had been more endearing than embarrassing. This entire storyline sheds light on the delicate balancing act that media personalities must execute in the divisive and high-pressure world of today. Every reaction is amplified, every remark is weaponized, and every weakness is taken advantage of. Public personalities must continually balance the urge to project confidence and authority with the very real possibility of being revealed as weak, defective, or, heaven forbid, human. Furthermore, let's face it, this is more than just a daytime TV soap. It's a sign of the larger cultural environment in which personal attacks and entertainment ideologies blend into one untidy stew. This moment is more than just a conflict between two egos, which is why it matters. It's a glimpse of contemporary media culture, where the boundaries between cruelty and comedy are blurry and the stakes are extremely high. It makes us wonder how much toughness a person can actually maintain until their performance breaks. How much do we as viewers want to watch that tension unfold in real time, accompanied by a dash of irony? And how honest can public personalities be without jeopardizing everything? Greg Gutfeld versus Joy Behar. A showdown is more than simply a fleeting event. It's a humorous, cautionary story that serves as a reminder that every zinger is a real person who must balance vulnerability and pride. One can only speculate as the story progresses as to who will attack next and who will make it through the subsequent round of this televised gladiator bout, in which nothing is off limits and words are weapons. This is definitely not over, and the upcoming episode promises even more drama, laughter, and unavoidably more public outbursts. Looking ahead, this confrontation paves the way for a media environment that is much more intense. The lines between comedic criticism and public persona are continually being drawn, and situations like this show how serious the situation is. It has to be seen if Joy Behar recovers to reorganize, or if she emerges from this experience smarter and stronger. Greg Gutfeld, however, has undoubtedly increased the standard for television takedowns, and the media community will be talking about this episode for a while to come. Therefore, the rest of us get to see one of the most amusing, brutal, and outright funny humiliations in recent media history, while Joy may be licking her wounds behind the scenes. The pen truly is more powerful than the daytime diva, and it's about time someone informed daytime TV of this.